Hi everyone, Mr. Lang here to take you through the answer key to the Chapter 8 pretest. So number one is asking you for the prime factorization. That means we're going to break this thing down into nothing but prime numbers. So let's start with something we for sure know 100 is. Well, I think we all know there's 4 quarters in $1. So 4 times 25. Well, I know 4 is not prime. I can break that down. That's 2 times 2, and that's prime. And that's prime. And then 5, oh, that's another one. That's 5 times 5. And we can't break down 5 any further. So we've reached our conclusion. That's it. 100 is equal to 2 times 2 times 5 times 5, or the proper way to write our answer would be 2 to the second power times 5 to the second power. All right, number 2 and 3 are in the GCF section. First one is just what is the greatest common factor between these two numbers? Well, remember, it's always best to start with the smaller number because 36 cannot be bigger than itself. So does 36 go into 48? No, so it's not 36. And then we just go in order here. So 2 times 18 is 36. Does 18 go into 48? Nope. Does 3 go into 14? Or 36, sorry, excuse me. Yeah, it does. 3 times 12. Oh, does 12 go into 48? Yep. There's our GCF. We found the biggest number that goes into 36 and 48 by working from the top down. All right, number 3, now we're trying to find the GCF of 27m squared and 45m cubed y. So right off the get-go, of course, they have some numbers in common. There's got to be something. But then also they have an m in common. Actually, there's multiple m's. So that one should be the easy one. They can share 2 m's with each other. And then just looking at the number, it might be a little tough, but again, I start at the bottom. 27 is what? 1 times 27. And does 27 go into 45? No, it doesn't. And then what's next? Does 2 go into 27? No. Does 3 go into 27 yet? 3 times 9. Ooh, does 9 go into 45? Yes, it does. So there's our final answer, 9m squared. All right. Moving on to the next learning target, number 4. Notice number 4 and number 5 are their own separate learning targets. So number 4 is where you take out the GCF. Now, we found what the GCF is in the previous learning target. Now that we know what the GCF is, we can go ahead and take the GCF out of these. And we ended up using similar numbers. So in this problem, the GCF would be 9x squared. Okay, that's great. But I'm factoring using the GCF. So they specifically want me to take out the GCF, but I would still have several things left over. So 27 divided by 9 would be 3. We took out 2 x's. That would leave me with 2 left. Negative 36 divided by 9 would be negative 4. All right, and then we took out 2 x's, so that would leave me just 1 x. And then last but not least, 9 divided by 9 is 1, and we took out both x's, so that would just leave me with a positive 1. So that would be the full answer. Now, some of you may have noticed that you could factor completely, but the instructions are not asking me to factor completely. So you could keep going, but they didn't ask me to. They didn't say factor completely. Okay, they didn't say that. Without that word, all they were asking for was the GCF. So that's all I had to do there. And I just realized I wrote my answer wrong. Let me fix that. So it's 9x squared and then 3x squared on the inside. All right, number 5, this one is factor by grouping. As soon as you see that word, you got to know you make the groups and that we have 4 terms here. So the first term I could take out, well, 2 and 7 don't go into each other. So I believe all I could take out is 3p's or p cubed. So that would still leave me with 7 and 1p minus that 2. All right, in the second group, 63 and 18. You know what? I think 9 goes into both of those. So that one was a little bit tricky. So we're going to take 9 out. And that would leave me with 7p minus 2. Oh, how about them apples? Winner, winner, chicken dinner. We have a matching group. So now what's crazy is we can take that whole blue group out, write it right here in its own parentheses, 7p minus 2. And then in green, we have just these 2 left over, right? If we were to take those groups out, it would be like they disappeared, and literally all that would be left is the p cubed and the 9. All right, so the p cubed and the positive 9 get their own parentheses like this. All right, so just make sure I write my answer in the line here. Or you can, of course, write it the other way, p cubed plus 9 times 7p minus 2. Either would work. All right, already on to page 2. We're flying here. And we know factor when we have a equals 1, right? When the front number in front of x squared is 1. My students, I call this a level 1 problem, kind of a basic reverse FOIL. So I know I can instantly go x and x. And now I got to think about, right, so that is my f in FOIL is done. The f is good. Well, then actually we go to the end in FOIL, the L, and we know that it has to multiply to be negative 32. Well, the problem is there's a whole bunch of options. It could be negative 1 and positive 32. It could be 1 and negative 32. It could be negative 2 and 16. It could be positive 2 and negative 16. It could be, nope, does 3 go into it? No, does 4 go into it? Yep. So negative 4 times 8 or positive 4 times negative 8. Ooh, I think we found a winner. Which one of these would combine to be a positive 4x? Would be if the 8 is positive and the 4 is negative. So there's my winner. It would be a plus 8 and a minus 4, because on the inside of the FOIL I would get negative 4x, but on the outside of the FOIL I get positive 8x, and positive 8 and negative 4 would combine to give me the 4. So just double check my answer to make sure I'm 100% sure. So my answer is x minus 4 times x plus 8, or of course vice versa, x plus 8 times x minus 4. It doesn't matter which way you write it, as long as the positive sign is with the 8 and the negative sign is with the 4. All right, just going to make myself a little room here. So this next one, same thing, same learning target. I instantly know I can go x and x, put my little check mark above the f in FOIL at the front, then we go right to the last in FOIL. We know it's negative 20, okay, and we know they have to be 8 away from each other. So it's probably not negative 1 and 20, so I'm going to just skip that because those are 19 away from each other. We got what, negative 2 and 10 and 2 and negative 10, and ooh, there they are. 2 and 10 are 8 away from each other, and I need it to be a negative 8, so it's going to be that one this time. So it's going to be a positive 2 and a negative 10. And again, I'm just going to 100% check my OI here, the middle of the FOIL. So on the outside, I would get what, negative 10x. On the inside, I'd get positive 2x. And those would combine to make negative 8. Negative 10 plus 2 would be negative 8. So, yep, double check. That's the right answer. So x plus 2 times x minus 10, or vice versa, x minus 10 times x plus 2. as long as the minus sign is with the 10 and the positive sign is with the 2. All right. For my students, I say these are the ones that are the harder ones, so I call them level 2. We have to level up here. And they're both level 2 because these have a prime A. What do I mean by that? I mean this front number here is a prime number. So luckily we know there's only one option. It has to be 2x times x for the front. So we know our F is good to go in FOIL. Now we got to know of our L, but luckily also notice we have a positive time and another positive. So the only way you could multiply to be positive and add to be positive is, of course, if everything is positive. So I already know these are going to be positives or plus signs. So now I just got to find the winning combination that would give me 15 on the end and 13 in the middle. Well, 15 still, there's only 2 options. Okay, but now it'll matter where I put the 3 and the 5. So let's try putting the 3 here and the 5 here. And let's check our outers and inners. So these would be both green because they're positive. So that would give me positive 10x and positive 3x. And ding, 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 right off the bat. Gotta love when it's positive. We got our 13. So our final answer is 2x plus 3 times x plus 5, or vice versa. All right, this one's a little bit trickier with a 5, and we got some negative signs going on here. All right, but luckily we know actually negative 2, there are literally only 2 options. Negative 1 times 2 or 1 times negative 2, that's it. But it will matter where I put things, because if I were to put a negative 2 here, I know the 5 times negative 2 would be negative 10x, and that's just not even close to that negative 3, so I don't think that's going to work. All right, but maybe if I put the negative 2 on the other side, or maybe if it's a negative 1 on this side and a positive 2 on this side, oh yeah, there's our winner, because this would give me negative 5x, and then on the inside we get positive 2x, and if you combine those in the middle, that would give me negative 3. So there's my winner. 5x plus 2 times x minus 1. Okay, so now we get into that section where we have some perfect squares, and then of course below we have that thing called factoring completely. It's basically our keyword. You're going to have to do more than one thing here. But before we do that, number 10, I notice I have one perfect square minus another perfect square. That means there's 2 items, and the only way that works is if we do something called the difference of squares. When we have the difference of squares, we automatically know it's going to be a positive and negative of the same pieces. It's got to be the same thing here and the same thing here automatically, because that's the only way our outers and inners could cancel with each other. So, since it's a perfect square, what times itself equals 25x squared? Well, that would be 5x times another 5x. And then what would multiply to be 36y squared? Well, that would be 6y times 6y. And then, like we said, you automatically know 1 is a plus and 1 is a minus, because if I want to show my work here, on the outside, I would get negative 30xy, where on the inside, I'd get positive 30xy, and those 2 would wipe each other out. Okay, factoring completely, code for more than one step. Step 1, you always need to ask yourself, is there a GCF? First thing you ask, is there a GCF? We're gotta ask that first. Well, if I look at these, I notice actually I could take out 5 from each. Okay. However, I would still have x squared plus 1x minus 12. All right, and then I'm looking at those, and I'm like, wait a second. I still got this 5 out here. Don't forget that 5, but my leftovers are a classic trinomial that I can reverse FOIL that, because there are things that multiply to be 12. And which one would be one away from each other? Ooh, I can kind of already guess. It's either going to be -3 and +4 or +3 and -4. Well, notice it's a positive imaginary 1 right here. It's a positive 1. So we would need the 4 to win out and be positive versus the -3. So there's my reverse FOIL there. So put it all together, and this huge thing is just one answer with the 5 out front. So it would be 5 times x minus 3 times x plus 4. All right. Now, I'm already noticing, again, right away before I do the problem, okay, factored completely, got to take out the GCF. But I'm also noticing right away that there's 2 terms. So we know the only way that works is it's got to be difference of squares. Has to. It's the only way we can do any extra FOIL with 2 items. So, what do these have in common? 3 quarters and 75 cents. Sorry. So 3 goes into 75, and they have 2 x's. So I know I can take out from both 3x to the second. And what would that leave me left over? Well, if I got the 3 and 2 x's, that would leave me 2 x's. 25, yeah, 75 divided by 3 is 25, and I took out both x's, so that's it. And ding, 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 it is a difference of squares. So automatically, I know my leftover stuff in black there will be plus and minus of the same thing. So we got x, and 25 is, of course, 5 times 5. And again, just to show my work here, on the outside, I would get negative 5x. On the inside, I would get positive 5x. So that middle stuff would cancel out. So that is the difference of squares. But remember that GCF didn't go anywhere. It's still there. So all together, my full answer would be 3x to the second times x plus 5 times x minus 5. Thank you so much. Hopefully you found some of your mistakes, and you will work really hard over the next 2 review days to make sure you go from this to this. Yeah. All right. Thanks.